Scholar of the Realist School of Confucianism Seongho 이익. Joseon is the Confucian country and most scholars study Neo-Confucianisms. However, in Neo-Confucianisms, it did little to improve the list of the people by neglecting a new technology or science and overly considering courtesy and duty. Among them, a new study Realist School of Confucianism appears. What's about the Realist School of Confucianism? It is a practical study that studies what is needed in real life. Scholar of Realist School of Confucianism basically study Neo-Confucianism, but they began to study extensively as well as study that benefit the people. In the late Joseon dynasty, most of the land was won by some landlords, so the majority of the people had to borrow other land for farming. Moreover, with the development of the agriculture technology such as rice planting, the area that one person can farm has increased, making it difficult for some of the people to even rent land. Nevertheless, a court officer confronted each other. Scholars have been arguing over theories and ethics that are far from real life. Among them, arguments are starting to be made to pursue study that actually help people to solve their difficulties. That is Realist School of Confucianism. It also refers to a particular study that studies what is actually needed in real life. 정약전 1758 to 1816, the second brother of 정약용, a weird scholar of the late Joseon dynasty period. 자산어보, research book on Korea, fish, and sea creature written by 정약전 to help fishermen. 이중환 1690 to 1752, scholar of the Realist School of Confucianism of late Joseon dynasty. 택리지 was geographic book describing the national of nature, environment, and economic activity and customs. Among the scholars, there were scholars who thought that the people's lives would improve only by reforming the problems of agriculture, the most important industry in the country. Physiocratic school was a school of Realist School of Confucianism in the late Joseon dynasty that imposes land reform and stability of farmers' lives. The scholar of the Realist School of Confucianism of the Physiocratic school thought that the reason for all social who practiced farming didn't have their own land. Seongho 이익 1681 to 1763, scholar of the Realist School Confucianism of late Joseon dynasty. He is a true scholar who became the model for Realist School of Confucianism when he first practiced this Realist School of Confucianism. Prophet also asked farmers to provide land that could be farmed from generation to generations, but we wanted it to keep the minimum amount of land by preventing us from buying or selling the land that was paid in this way. It is a land system that provides land to farmers and limit the sales that profit claim because it limits the claim of land sales. Mr. Eek said that he lived without living for the rest of his life and made great achievement in his studies. In the name of 경기도 안산, 첨성리, where he was able to achieve, he built his ark following the letter 성. He was born in his father, a place of exile, and the following year, he learned to write with his older brother 이잠. But his older brother was sacrificed in a party conflict. Accordingly, he abandoned his intentions and devoted himself only to academic research and cultivation of backward student becoming a master of practical studies. By inheriting the academic tradition of the founder Yu Hyung-won of a post-tip school, he considered realistic issues with a critical attitude and suggested reforms for them. Through his representative book, the Seongho editorial, he sharply criticized politics, military system, and government control and present alternatives. Seongho editorial theory. Seongho editorial theory was written by nephews and nephews of the family collection of 30 books and 30 books of Kyujangak Library. And a complete Korean translate was also published by the Korean Culture, Geographic, and Historical Geography. 천지문 is the astronomy, nature science, and natural geographic and historical geographic. 만물문 contains the life problems of ceremonialisms as well as flowers, coins, weights, and measures and instruments. Personal letter contains information about human social life and learning, which is contained in politics and economy and person and event and idea. 경사문 is about Confucianism and history. 시문문 contains criticism of the poems and sentences of China and Joseon Dynasty. Lee Soo-kwang, pioneering work 지봉유설, was inherited as a reflection of the problem sense of understanding the world and society in a comprehensive and concrete manner. The main focus of the content was on the economy and the economy. The author argued that Joseon Dynasty should return to the study of primitive Confucianism at the time of Confucius and Mencius and bring back the politics of Joseon Dynasty and the three generations to life, which itself was a reform-minded position in the Joseon Dynasty when it was increasingly bound by Jihu writings. Broad argument for social reforms, a characteristic of content and the essence of author learning are usually contained in personal letter. There, the author harshly critiques the political reality characterized by the political strife between the two parties, not just the original pursuit of original politics. For example, regarding the cause of political strife, which was advocated by the bandits at the time as obsolete, he pointed out self-promoting national affairs is a discussion that eventually ruins the country. Pointing out the problems of the past system. He insists on reform, emphasizes the system, and insists on a wide range of system reform, ranging from abolishing the non-variable body at the top of the government organizations to the reorganizations of the local country office. The author arguments cannot be enumerated, such as the abolition of the monetary system and the revival of Sangpyeongchang, the abolition of the mutual discrimination and the improvement of the slave system, and the reform of marriage and overcoming practical customs. Also, the position that Western science and technology were very sophisticated and actively accepted was of great significance to the time. It is not a plain work from the beginning, so some argue that it's also poorly organized and misread the trend of the times, such as the abolition of currency, but it is a work that serves as a lake that aggregates the practical achievements of the preceding period and spread them to junior. It left a collection of writings on Seongho Kwak-urok and Seongho Library works, and the royal court highly valued his virtues after his death and posthumously conferred his posthumous honors on the Ministry of Interior. He passed away in Hansangbu on December 17, 1763, and is buried in Gyeonggi-do, Ansan County. A cultural festival is held every May in Gyeonggi-do, Ansan County to commemorate Seongho's interested. The Seongho Culture Festival is being held as a comprehensive culture event that combines traditions and modern culture with modern culture in order to honor the separate and academic achievements of Seongho Ik, who lived in all his life, and to promote his pride and affection to citizens.